R.Kelly is going to be looking for a little more protection while he's in jail in Chicago, because we've heard from officials at the prison he was attacked by another inmate.
Tonight, an inmate claims he snuck into R.Kelly's jail cell to attack the singer. This is Jeremiah Farmer, who claims he was forced to beat the Grammy winner.
Felt like Jay-Z was kind of insecure because R.Kelly at the time was technically bigger than him.
It is not news that R.Kelly is currently serving a sentence that would last almost a lifetime for some pretty awful crimes, but it seems like his time behind bars has been nothing near peaceful.
Tonight, an inmate claims he snuck into R.Kelly's jail cell to attack the singer. This is Jeremiah Farmer, who claims he was forced to beat the Grammy winner.
Apparently, he has gone through terrifying incidents that'll probably haunt him for life. But trust me when I say that's not even where the real tea is. Guess what? The claim is that the one person responsible for all these is none other than Jay-Z himself.
Yeah, see, R.Kelly felt like Jay-Z was trying to get him.
While waiting for his trial, R.Kelly was attacked in prison by a notorious gang member known as Jeremiah Farmer. He was known to be affiliated with the Latin Kings, and things didn't stop there. It appears that shortly after spilling the tea and pointing at Jay-Z, R.Kelly's former cellmate was shot.
Man, I don't want to get too much off in details, but yeah, I got shot. You know, I really don't know where it came from.
Of course, since then, the rumor mill has been on overdrive with claims that Jay-Z is truly tied to all of this. Now, is this credible? We can't say. But is there some suspicion here? Sure. I mean, you have to ask yourself if the claims are true. Does Jay-Z have something to benefit from all of this? We all know that R.Kelly and Jay-Z used to be cool G's, dropping music together back in the day. So what could have caused Jay-Z to allegedly hire a gang to target him? Let's dive right in.
We've heard from officials at the prison he was attacked by another inmate. This was not, in the cafeteria or anything. He was sitting in his cell when another inmate jumped him.
Back in 2020, there was that shocking incident where R. Kelly was attacked by Jeremiah Farmer, a notorious member of the Latin Kings from Chicago. Kelly was just trying to catch some sleep in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center when Farmer sprang into action, catching him completely off guard. Reports say Farmer didn't hold back. He threw a bunch of punches at Kelly before a prison guard showed up and used pepper spray to break things up. It turns out Farmer didn't just stop at punches. He also had an ink pen on him that he was planning to use to stab Kelly. The whole thing left Kelly pretty beat up and bruised.
Tonight, an inmate claims he snuck into R. Kelly's jail cell to attack the singer. This is Jeremiah Farmer, who claims he was forced to beat the Grammy winner.
In a downtown Chicago jail cell where R. Kelly was awaiting his cell assault trial, through a handwritten filing to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, Farmer revealed something shocking. He admitted to attacking R. Kelly while they were both locked up. Farmer claimed he did this as a desperate move to grab attention, hoping to expose what he saw as corruption in his own case. He saw himself as a whistleblower, fighting against the injustice he believed was being ignored in his prosecution.
Correctional Center last Wednesday when he was attacked. Farmer, in jail for racketeering conspiracy, lays it all out in this appeal to the 7th Circuit. He was, quote, forced to assault hip-hop and R&B singer R. Kelly in hopes of getting spotlight attention and world news notice to shed light on the government corruption, end quote.
This shocking revelation threw Farmer back into the spotlight, sparking a bunch of questions about what really went down with the attack on Kelly. Farmer's claims painted a picture of frustration and desperation. He apparently resorted to violence as a last-ditch effort to get noticed. Stuck in the chaos of the COVID-19 pandemic, cut off from legal resources and feeling abandoned by his defense team, Farmer viewed Kelly as a way to make his voice heard, alleging that the justice system had failed him. Before we go further, let's look at Jeremiah's background. Aside from the fact that he is a notorious figure in the Latin Kings gang, Farmer has a record that's far unclean. His criminal history is seriously disturbing and goes far beyond the usual offenses you might hear about. Farmer was convicted of racketeering, which is already a big deal, but that's just the beginning. He's also responsible for some truly horrific crimes. Back in 1999, he was found guilty of the brutal murders of 2 businessmen, which is a pretty intense mark on his record. His involvement in racketeering dates back to that same period, and according to federal prosecutors, his list of crimes includes a whole range of violent and illegal activities. We're talking attempted murders, aggravated assaults, and drug distribution. It's clear that Farmer's criminal background is both extensive and deeply troubling. You might think that these crimes are just par for the course for someone with a criminal mindset, but Farmer's actions weren't your run-of-the-mill offenses. For reference to some of his infamous crimes, Farmer was behind the brutal murders of Marion Lowry and Harvey Seegers, two businessmen who ran Calumet Auto Rebuilders. These guys were beaten to death with a hammer right at their business in Hammond. And it was as gruesome as it sounds. The sheer brutality of these murders didn't just shake up the immediate area. It sent shockwaves through the whole community, leaving people reeling from the shocking violence. Paul Keenan, the FBI's special agent in charge, summed it up perfectly when he talked about Farmer's reign of terror. Farmer's violent actions didn't just hurt a few individuals. They had a deep and lasting impact on the whole community. Keeping Farmer locked up wasn't just about getting a dangerous criminal off the streets. It was also about sending a clear message that this kind of violence and intimidation was not going to be tolerated. It was a way of saying that the community wouldn't stand for such acts of brutality, and that there would be serious consequences for anyone trying to spread fear and chaos. By July 2019, Jeremiah Farmer finally faced the music for his horrific crimes. He, along with 42 other gang members, was convicted of racketeering, conspiracy, and drug charges. As a result, he was sentenced to life in prison, which marked the end of a long and brutal chapter of violence that he had inflicted on his community. With Farmer being finally sentenced to life in prison, rumors started swirling that Jay-Z might have put a bounty on R.Kelly's head, and that is why the attack on Kelly happened. Here's where things get interesting. While in prison, R.Kelly and Ronnie Bo were cellmates, but when Bo got out, he was found spilling tea. But before diving into those details, let's not forget the bond between Jay-Z and R.Kelly. So it's old gist that R.Kelly and Jay-Z were tight back in the day, even after R.Kelly's dark secrets started to surface. They hung out at the same parties, shopped at the same spots, and even had a few overlapping romantic interests, which is kind of amusing. Then it came out that R.Kelly had lied about Aaliyah's age and secretly married her when she was just 15. You'd think that would be a deal breaker for Jay-Z, but instead of backing away, he actually went all in. Jay-Z stuck by R.Kelly, and they even dropped a joint album called The Best of Both Worlds.
Right. Sitting back there like Perv Master. Perv Master Aura.
She came out at 15, that her and R. Kelly were married.
Right.
And there's actually a marriage license with both of them, with her age stating that she's 18.
This move left a lot of people scratching their heads, including singer Jaguar Wright, who openly questioned why Jay-Z would stick with someone like R. Kelly after all the dirt that had come to light. It seemed pretty strange that Jay-Z didn't seem bothered by R. Kelly's illegal relationship and marriage to a minor, and it definitely sparked a lot of talk at the time.
Oh, Jay-Z. And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both Aaliyah. They shared so much in common.
Some folks even started speculating that Jay-Z and R. Kelly might have had some sort of involvement in the tragic path of Aaliyah's career and her untimely death. Despite having this tight relationship, the duo fell out to the point that Jay-Z was supposedly out for R. Kelly. According to R. Kelly himself, Jay-Z wasn't exactly the friend he appeared to be. Ronnie Bo, who shared a prison cell with Kelly, recently spilled some pretty wild details in an interview. He claimed that R. Kelly always felt like Jay-Z had a deep-seated grudge against him and might have even wanted him dead. Despite their high-profile collaborations and tour together in the early 2000s, it seems their partnership was anything but smooth. He felt like Jay-Z was insecure because at that time R. Kelly was technically bigger than him, Ronnie Bo explained. He went on to say that Kelly believed Jay-Z was behind some death threats he received before one of their shows at Madison Square Garden in 2004. It might sound crazy, Bo continued, but R. Kelly was convinced that Jay-Z wanted him killed for whatever reason.
He felt like Jay-Z was kind of insecure because R. Kelly at the time was technically bigger than him.
The tension reportedly hit its peak during a Madison Square Garden concert where R. Kelly suddenly left the stage, claiming he saw people in the crowd pointing guns at him. When he tried to return, he was pepper sprayed by Tyron Smith, one of Jay-Z's close associates. This shocking incident got Kelly kicked off the tour, leading him to file a $75 million lawsuit against Jay-Z for breach of contract. This whole saga has led to some pretty wild speculation.
It may sound outrageous, but he felt like Jay-Z wanted to get him killed for whatever reason.
There's even a theory floating around that since Jay-Z couldn't take R. Kelly out physically, he might have had a hand in exposing Kelly's criminal activities. The idea is that Jay-Z was well aware of what Kelly had been doing for years, but chose to reveal it only when it benefited him. perhaps to knock Kelly down and secure his own spot at the top of the music industry. If this theory holds any weight, it suggests that Jay-Z's actions weren't about doing the right thing, but rather about protecting his own status and eliminating a rival. It looks like none of the previous tactics were cutting it, which is probably why he allegedly turned to the Latin Kings to get the job done.
Tonight, an inmate claims he snuck into R.Kelly's jail cell to attack the singer. This is Jeremiah Farmer.
But who exactly are the Latin Kings, and what have they been up to?
7:30. They made a threat at a specific time at 8 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tommy G. I'm in the hood of Latin Kings.
So, back in 1954, on the bustling streets of Humboldt Park in Chicago, a group called the Imperials emerged. Led by Ramon Santos, their main goal was to fight for the rights of Puerto Ricans in the city and push back against the discrimination they were facing. But as often happens, things didn't stay that straightforward. Life in Chicago was tough, with constant pressure and violence from rival gangs like those from Greek and Italian backgrounds. To protect themselves and gain more power, the Imperials decided to join forces with other Puerto Rican and Mexican gangs. This alliance eventually evolved into what we know today as the Latin Kings. At first, the Latin Kings were all about defending their community. They acted as a protective shield, standing up to anyone who targeted Puerto Ricans and other Latinos.
We're like basically protecting all down 26th Street, making sure the blacks did not steal because they were stealing all down 26th Street.
First protecting they though.
But over time, their initial mission got lost, and the gang started diving into more criminal activities, spreading their influence well beyond Humboldt Park. These days, the Latin Kings are a huge presence. They've split into two main factions, King Motherland Chicago and Bloodline, and they've spread their reach all over the US, with chapters in more than 158 cities across 31 states. In Chicago alone, they're estimated to have between 20,000 and 35,000 members, and they haven't stopped there. They've gone global, setting up chapters in Latin American and European countries too. When it comes to Hispanic street gangs, the Latin Kings are a major player. They're right up there with other well-known groups like the Sureños, Norteños, Mississippi, 13, and the 18th Street Gang. In fact, they're one of the largest and most influential gangs in the US, especially in Chicago, where their presence is strong. But beneath all those numbers and power is a story of missed opportunities. The Latin Kings started with good intentions, fighting for equality and justice for their community. Somewhere along the way, though, things changed. Instead of helping uplift their people, they became part of the problem, contributing to the violence and crime that plagues many of the same neighborhoods they once aimed to protect.
It's sketchy out here? Yeah, it's Chicago.
Yeah, we're the most feared neighborhood in Chicago.
Out of all the Mexicans, little village, we be f***ing shit up anywhere.
If you ever want to identify a Latin king, it's actually not too hard once you know what to look for. Their iconic symbol is a crown, usually with either 5 points or 3, proudly worn as a sign of honor and loyalty. You might also notice graffiti or markings like LK, Alkin, or Alkyen, which represent their unity and pride. And don't forget the lion or king master images. They're often depicted as symbols of strength and authority in their art and tattoos. Beyond the symbols and colors, the Latin Kings are part of a bigger alliance called the People Nation. In the gang world, that's a pretty significant deal, especially when you consider they're often at odds with their main rival, the Folk Nation Alliance. In this world, loyalty and alliances are everything. When it comes to discipline, the Latin Kings take it seriously. Their rules aren't just guidelines, they're strictly enforced. If a member steps out of line, they're subject to a formal process. It starts with a procedures for violation form, which details the offense and gathers statements from witnesses. Then there's a crown hearing where they decide if the member is guilty and what the punishment should be. The consequences depend on the severity of the violation. It could be something like probation, or fines, or in more serious cases, a suspension from wearing the gang's colors. For the most severe offenses, physical punishment isn't off the table. Terms like beat on sight, 3-minute physical, or 5-minute physical refer to punishments carried out by other members to remind them of the importance of following the rules. Why are the rules so strict? For the Latin Kings, it's all about keeping order and respect within their ranks. They see their group as a brotherhood, and loyalty is key. The rules are the foundation of that brotherhood, and maintaining them is essential to the gang's survival. Additionally, the Latin Kings are guided by a set of principles and rules laid out in their constitution, which is treated like a sacred guidebook. This document outlines how members should live, what they should believe in, and how they should conduct themselves. For the Latin Kings, it's not just a book, it's a way of life, and it's taken very seriously within the organization. They also follow something called the King Manifesto, which is kind of like their Bible. It helps guide them through different stages of their lives. The first stage is the primitive stage, kind of like being a reckless teenager who acts on impulse without really thinking things through. Then you've got the conservative stage, where members start getting fed up with all the constant drama and trouble. At this point, some might feel like they're ready to settle down, maybe get married, and leave the gang life behind. But it's not just about maturing. It's more about trying to fit in with what society expects of them rather than genuinely growing up. Conclusively, there's the new king stage, where everything is supposed to flip on its head. It's like waking up from a long nap and suddenly realizing that things have to change. Instead of constantly battling each other, the focus shifts to fighting for a bigger purpose, like freedom and justice. It's all about understanding that everyone is in this together, no matter their race or background. It's still up in the air whether Jay-Z was involved in this whole situation, but there's a lot of buzz and speculation pointing his way regarding what happened to Kelly. Meanwhile, one thing's clear. The Latin Kings are not a group you want to cross. They're known for going all out to make their point, showing no hesitation or second thoughts about their actions.